guys, I am back with a highly requested video. There were so many people who have sent me like Instagram DMs or commented on previous videos on YouTube asking me to cover this topic. So today I'm going to be talking about all the things to look out when buying a Chanel bag. A lot of people buying like their first bag and they don't know what is like a good quality one and what's a bad quality one. They just buy these bags like unknowingly and no one's like there to help them or protect them, which is why I'm making this video. Before you buy your first Chanel handbag, please, for the love of God, watch this video. If you have a friend who's looking to buy a Chanel handbag, show them this video, force them to watch this video. Make sure that they are getting the best bag for their money. Like, these bags are not cheap. Do not, please, for the love of God, do not buy a wonky bag or a slouchy bag for like $10,000. It is not worth it, I promise you. So this is a list that I actually have on my laptop here. So if you see me look down, that's what I'm looking at, because it is a legitimate list that I have like in my notes. And anytime I go to the Chanel store and I'm looking to buy a new bag, I will hold it, look at it, and I go through this whole list. I'm just gonna start, because it's gonna be a long video, grab a tea or a coffee, maybe some snacks, and let's get into it. Okay, so for simplification, I'm going to be talking about classic flap shapes. So as you know, like Chanel have heaps of different bags. They have like the boy bag, the trendy, the cocoa handle. This is probably, I would say, by far their most popular style, which is the classic flap. Everything in this video is purely my opinion and there's no right or wrong. Some people are fine to buy bags with certain quality things or a certain way that the bag looks that I personally am not okay with. That doesn't mean they're right, that doesn't mean I'm right. It's just difference of opinion. So this video is purely based on the quality and like defects that I accept and that I don't accept, and that I'm passing on to you guys, because I've had a lot of people ask me like, how do I know if I'm getting a good quality Chanel bag? How do I know if my one maybe has defects, and like what should I be looking out for? This is the stuff I look out for. There might be stuff on this list that you think like, that's crazy. If my bag had that, like I wouldn't send it back. I would be fine having it. And that's totally fine. I'm not trying to change your mind. I'm just sharing information that you guys have asked for. So the first thing I look at is the type of leather. So with Chanel, there are lots of different types of leather. There's the caviar, the lambskin, etc. Speaking specifically about caviar bags, I usually look for if it's a shiny or a matte leather or an iridescent, because you want to look at the quality of the leather. So say, for example, even if you have two small Chanel flaps, you might find one has a lot of shine, and you can see here this is picking up a lot of the light, so you get a shiny caviar. Whereas there are Chanel leathers that are caviar but they're matte and they're not shiny. I'll try and find some photos online if I can, but essentially that's personal preference. Personally, I like the shiny caviar. That's what I look out for. So I'll usually look at the bag and make sure that I'm like moving it around and making sure it's catching the light and it's not looking flat or matte or like really dense in the color and dull, just because personally that's not what I like. But on the other hand, I also don't like the super duper shiny ones that almost look like reflective and plastic. I'll try and find some photos or videos online. I might struggle to, so I apologize if there's not content to show here. But there are some Chanel handbags where they just have so much. They're not an iridescent leather, like it's still just a shiny caviar, but it's a very shiny caviar and the bag can look almost fake. So I don't like that. So usually I look for, make sure I'm happy with the color of the leather, the sheen of the leather, and the general quality of it. I also usually look for the puffiness of the quilt and the thickness of the leather. Usually when you hold a Chanel bag, you should be able to push down on these quilts and see it completely puff back up, especially for a bag that's brand new from store. So hopefully you can see here, all of these, you push down and there's a lot of puff underneath the quilt. As the bags age and they get older, that starts to flatten. Especially with vintage bags, you'll find that the puffs are a lot flat and some even like concave inwards. So instead of being puffy outwards, they're inwards, and that's from people like touching it and just general wear and age. So I like to look for one that also has nice puffy quilts. Another thing to look for is stitched edging. Again, this is completely personal preference. So this classic flap here, this is what we call the stitch edging, and it's along the flap here. You can see that there's stitching along the edge. Essentially, there are some classic flaps that are completely authentic and real from the store that don't have edge stitching. All of my classic flaps so far do have stitch edging, and that's just because I like that. It's not something that you really get to pick, especially with the seasonal bags. Like, it either has it or it doesn't have it, and for me it isn't a huge deciding factor on if I buy a bag or not. But I find that it makes the bag look a little bit neater, and it looks a little bit more finished. There are some bags where if they don't have that stitched edges, it can look a little bit like, it just looks a little bit unfinished, and it looks like something hasn't been like closed off, or they just made it and they forgot to like seal in the edges. That's not what happened. It's just a style preference, but that's something else to look out for. That's also another indicator for if a bag is real or not, especially because this never changes. If there's a particular bag from a particular season that has the edge stitching, every single bag from that collection of that style in that color from the collection will have edge stitching. So if you're looking for that bag on the Preloved market and you see one that looks like it's from the store but it is missing that stitched edging, and you know it's meant to have it, then you know for sure that's a fake bag, because that's unlike the leather where it's like potentially shiny or matte, depends on the batch of the leather. The edge stitching, it's not something that, it's not a discrepancy. Like, it's not some have it, some don't. Either every bag in that collection has it or every bag doesn't. So that's sort of the next thing that I look out for. The other thing I like to look for, and this is another good indicator for if you're buying a real bag or not, is with the black classic flaps. This isn't with every classic flap, but with the black ones, you should always have the burgundy interior. So the inside should always be this really deep wine red, almost like a purple, not black. There are some small exceptions, especially with like vintage bags and like earlier collection ones where the interior is black. But if you're buying any new bag from the store that is a black classic flap, you should always have that like that wine plummy red purple interior. And if you're buying on the Preloved market, anything from the last couple of years should have that interior. So the other thing to look for is that the like embossing of the logo inside the bag matches the hardware. So this bag is a gold hardware. You can see that that's just the classic yellow gold, and you can confirm that because inside here it says Chanel Paris in like yellow gold. So if you ever buy especially on like the Preloved market, you're looking at a yellow gold hardware classic flap and the interior embossing like words are in silver, that is a clear indicator that it is fake. All gold hardware bags should have gold writing, and all silver hardware bags should have silver writing. The other thing that I look after that is the chain. So as you can see, like this has Chanel's iconic leather and hardware intertwined chain, where all of the leather has been glued together, and then they've got this chain going throughout it. What I like to look for, and this sometimes takes a little while, is just making sure that there's no peeling and that there's no glue on it. And yes, I know like Chanel should just make really high quality bags where this isn't an issue, but sometimes there are issues where the leather can be separating. I obviously don't have an example on my bags because I don't buy bags that have that issue, but I'll see if I can find photos or videos online to show you guys. Essentially, like here on the edges, again, like my bag doesn't have this issue so you won't be able to see it, but here on the edges where it's nice and clean and you can see there's no fraying, I have seen bags new in store and pre-loved online secondhand vintage where the edges will be completely like splitting and the leather's like separating and you can almost like open it. There are also some that aren't that bad, but they've just got like glue stuck on them because the leather, obviously, it's two separate pieces of leather that they put glue between and glue it down. Sometimes you can get like little specks of glue on like the edges or on the side, and that's personally just not something that I like because especially sometimes the glue does have a bit of a weird smell to it. So I like to go through when I'm in the store and like just look through the whole bag chain and make sure that there's no like splits, there's no cuts, there's no fraying, there's no pop stitches, and there's no glue. The one thing that you do need to look out for is this. This is normal. So I'll show you what this is. This is this bit here. I don't know if it'll come up on camera so well, but you can see that there's a little bit of leather there. That is not a defect. That is like the end of the chain, because obviously they make this leather chain and it has to end somewhere. So it is normal and this is not a defect. Every bag will have this, even the highest quality bags, where you can see here that's the two ends of the chain that they've connected there. So you're meant to have those little flappy bits that aren't fully stuck down. So if you do start looking and inspecting the chains of your bags in store, when you see that, that's not a defect, that's meant to be there. So I just wanted to let you guys know, because I don't want people going to store and being like, oh, like this chain has an issue. That's not an issue, that's just the way it is. The next thing that I like to look for, and this is one of the more obvious ones that you can usually tell, especially on the Preloved market, is corner wear. So because these bags, obviously, like you're wearing them and like you're putting them down on like tables or on the ground or wherever it is, you can get like scuffs here in the corners. So this one doesn't have any because it's still pretty new. Like I think this bag is about a year old, and I like take care of my bags like crazy. But something to look for, especially even the ones that are new in store, if it's a display bag or if it's just a bag that a lot of people have been trying on and they put it down on the glass counters and stuff like that, you can sometimes find that there will be corner wear where the leather is either peeling or the color is peeling or it's a little bit chipped. Obviously you can't see it here, but I'll try and find some photos and videos online to show you what that looks like. That's just another easy quality one. I feel like when you buy a bag that's brand new from the store, especially how expensive it is, like you don't want it to have any signs of wear. So if it's got any peeling or any scuffed leather or it's like missing any of its color, like you don't want that. So that's something else that I look out for. This I think is personal preference, even though personally I view it as a defect. I know some people that think like this is a little bit pedantic, is frayed stitches and pop stitches all over the bag. This takes ages to do, and I am gonna be honest, like I don't look at every single individual stitch, but I do have like I look at the bag in all its entirety and I look at all like the bottom, the sides, the corners, the back, every single pocket, like the inside. And what you're looking for essentially is the stitches that have either accidentally popped and come undone, so you're missing a stitch. And this bag doesn't have any, so it won't be a good example to show you, but essentially you should be able to see every single individual stitch and how they connect to each other. And sometimes you can see a stitch is popped or come undone, and instead of having two stitches next to each other, there will be one really long stitch and then shorter stitches next to it, and that's a sign of a pop stitch. Personally, I don't like that, because if one stitch is popped, like I get scared that the whole bag will like slowly start to come undone. I haven't seen any Chanel bags, even like vintage or even in the worst quality conditions, where that's happened, but that's just my fear. And that's another really popular one that you find on vintage and pre-loved bags, is especially on the corners or especially on the back, because on the back your bag is always brushing up against your clothes and brushing up against like jackets and like abrasive surfaces. Sometimes you can have stitches on the back that aren't popped or missing, but they'll be fraying. And I don't know how to explain it, but basically the string that is used for the stitch will start to become a little bit frayed and like fluffy, and when you just look at it, it kind of looks a little bit messy and scruffy. So pop stitches and frayed stitches and missing stitches is the next thing on my list that I look for. This, again, personal preference, there's no right or wrong. I usually like to look if the bag is made in France or made in Italy. And I personally prefer bags that are made in France just because I feel like they're a little bit special. Like Chanel is a French brand, so I like for my French bags to be made in France. I feel like it's a little bit funny to have a French designer bag that's made in like Italy. However, it's no indication that the bag is fake. Chanel do have factories in Italy and in France, so sometimes when you buy a bag it'll say made in, here this one you can see says made in France, and sometimes they say made in Italy. Doesn't mean the bag is fake, just means that's the factory where it was made. The next thing on my list, and this is one that drives me crazy, like when I see this in the Chanel store especially, sometimes I look at this and I'm like, oh my god, like are they really trying to sell a bag that looks like that to somebody? And it makes me feel so bad. Like, you guys know I love Chanel, and like I just wish that they made every bag perfect. But I think that this quality issue is like too big of a one that it just drives me crazy when I see it in store. And that is straight flaps. So as you can see here, this flap here is completely even and straight. Like if I hold the bag flat like that, you can see both sides are completely equal because it goes down and it goes up and it goes down. It's a little N, I guess, like a really flat N. I have seen bags in the pre-loved market, new from Chanel, where this is not straight, and it drives me crazy. Just because I think it's such an obvious defect. Like, it's not even one where you have to open the bag or you have to like look really close at it to see it. From a mile away, you can see sometimes I've seen bags where this side is like up here and then this side comes like all the way down like here, and it's just wonky. And it just drives me nuts. So every time I go into store, if I'm looking for a classic flap, I always look at it and look at it from different angles. Like I look at it like this, like holding it, looking down, and then I always put it down on a flat surface, not even on my hands. Like I would put it on a table and then get down at eye level with it. And I know some people might think I'm crazy, but this is just what I do. I get down on eye level and make sure that it's even. I will definitely be able to find photos because I have seen the worst bags that have like the wonkiest flaps, and so I will insert photos of that. Again, like, it might not bother you, and if it doesn't bother you, that's totally fine. I'm not saying that it should bother you, I'm just saying it's something that bothers me, and that's on my list of things that I check. Another thing that I have on my list is looking for wrinkles and the structure on the sides. So this bag here, you can see the sides, like, they stand upright, and there's no, like, it's not caving in on itself, or it's not like wonky or like uneven. I'm gonna insert a photo of a bag that was brand new from store that I cannot believe. Like, when I see stuff like this, it just makes me so mad, and I feel bad because I personally, and I think a lot of people who watch my YouTube, like, we buy these bags often, or like, we know a lot about the designer and we know what is and isn't acceptable. Like, if I saw a bag like this that had sides that were really caved in and like wonky, and it wasn't upright and like supporting itself, I would know that there's something wrong with that bag and that it's bad quality. But if you're someone, like, it's like, you've just turned 18, you've just graduated, you want to buy your first designer bag with your first paycheck, which was me like many years ago, like, you might not know about Chanel, and you might not know how the bags are meant to look, and you might think like, oh, that's just the way that the bag looked, and then you buy this bag that's like damaged, or like has defects, like quality defects, thinking that it's fine. It just makes me so mad that a lot of people buying like their first bags, or they're not planning to buy more bags, they don't pay attention to Chanel, and that's totally fine. Like, they don't follow what it's meant to look like, and they don't know what is like a good quality one and what's a bad quality one. They just buy these bags like unknowingly, and no one's like there to help them or protect them, which is why I'm making this video. Before you buy your first Chanel handbag, please, for the love of God, watch this video. If you have a friend who's looking to buy a Chanel handbag, show them this video, force them to watch this video, make sure that they are getting the best bag for their money. It's something I really care about a lot. Like, I hate when people try and sell me like a poor quality version of something with my hard-earned money, and like, these bags are not cheap. Do not, please, for the love of God, do not buy a wonky bag or a slouchy bag for like $10,000. It is not worth it, I promise you. And there will be bags that come in the future that you love that are of a better quality. This is a similar one. I hate when bags, especially when they're new, not so much the pre-loved ones, because I think this happens inevitably with every bag, but if it's new from store, it needs to have a flat base and be able to stand up. And I know that that sounds like such an obvious thing. You're like, oh yeah, this is flat, right? Like, it should just be even and it should be able to stand up. But this one, you can see, is perfect. When I put it down, I can just put the chain I can put the chain at the back, I can put chain at the front, I can put the chain on the top, and it just stands up because the base is flat. I have seen Chanel bags that are new from the store where the base looks flat, like, it doesn't look like it's wonky, but when you put it down on a table, it either leans forwards or it leans back, or to make it stand up, you have to balance it with the chain. Because the chain is heavy, I wouldn't say it's very heavy, but it's got some weight to it. If you put it down like this on a table and put this behind, the whole bag like falls over. And so to make it stand up, you have to like do this and put the chain like on the front and on the back so that it balances so the bag can stay up. Again, I think I will struggle to find photos of this because like, these are such specific things that people like don't take photos of or videos of and like post them online for people to see. But that's something to watch out for. Again, personal preference. Like, if you're like, oh, I don't care, like, it's a beautiful bag, like, I'm not gonna put it down on a table or like on the ground or like whatever, I don't care if it stands up, it just needs to like sit against my body, then that's fine. It might not be something you look for. Every time I go out to eat, like, I always put my bags down like on a chair or on like in my lap, and it just annoys me when it's always like constantly tipping over, up, like back and forth. So yes, looking for a flat base and a bag that sits up straight and isn't leaning forwards, because I have seen that, especially because these the classic flaps have the double flaps. You've got one here and one here, so the double flap also does have some weight to it. So I've seen bags where if you put them down, the weight of the double flap pushes the whole bag forward, and it still stands up, but it stands up kind of like this. Like, it's like slightly on an angle to the front, and I just don't like it. It just doesn't look nice to me personally. That's my preference. So flat bases that stand up is next on my list. The next thing I look for, and this isn't really one that I like look for, but it's a good one to check for authenticity, is what serial number is on the bag. So if we take this bag, and this is my Luxe shaper in my bag. I just pulled this bag out of storage, and I always have these Luxe shapers that are from Miss Luxe & Co. They are an amazing local Australian business who do these like bag Luxe shapers. to protect the interior of your bag and protect the integrity. So it's making sure that the sides don't start to sag, and that you don't overstuff your bag with tissue paper. This isn't a sponsored video. They did gift me this Luxe Shaper and a couple for my other bags in the past, and it's all on my Instagram if you want to look at. But yeah, I always just have this in my bag, so that's why that's there. They make them for every single bag style, shape, like not just Chanel. They do Louis Vuitton bags, they do Gucci bags, like YSL bags, they do non-designer bags as well. And they have heaps of different colors. They're made out of the softest, silkiest material, so you don't have to worry about color transfer inside your bag, or like dirtying the inside of your bag. They're amazing. I love them. If I have a discount code, which I have a feeling that I do, it'll be in my description below, so you guys can buy that from them. Back to what we were talking about, which is the serial number of the bag. All Chanel bags on the inside towards the bottom corner have, oh, actually they don't have them anymore because they just switched to a new microchip, and I covered that in my last video. So click in the link. I'll put a link in the description below for my last video where I talked about the switch from the hologram stickers to these little microchips inside the bags. But anything that was made before, I think it's like March, April 2021, should have like a little hologram sticker inside. Looking at the serial number and what series it's from is something that I look at just because usually out of interest. The serial number tells you when the bag was made. So I think right now we're in series 31. All of the barcodes that you have, either the hologram sticker or the new microchip, should start with 31, and it goes 31, like the numbers should keep ascending and going up as time goes on. And that's a really good indicator for a bag, especially if you're shopping pre-loved, like to know when the bag was from. It's also good to know if a bag is authentic or not. So say for example, if you're looking for a bag that's from like the 2021 collection, then the serial number should start with 31. And if you see it and it starts with like 18 or something, then you know that's a dead giveaway that that bag is fake, because like the serial number that starts with 18 is from many years ago, and this bag is from 2021, so obviously it's a fake bag. The next thing that I move on to is packaging. If you are buying a bag like pre-loved or on the secondhand market or even new from store, and you just want to make sure you're getting like the full experience and getting all the stuff that you should get, your bag should come, especially if it's a classic flap, you should get one of these white dust bags. So these white dust bags are exclusively for Chanel classic flaps. You don't get them for the Chanel like trendy, the boy bag, the Coco handle, the business affinity, any other style, you don't get them. But usually those ones you get, I don't have a photo, I'll find one, you should just get the standard black dust bag, which is like, it's just open and it's got the little drawstring at the top that you can pull and open and close it. These like two-piece white ones are exclusively for classic flaps. So because we're talking about a classic flap, you should get one of these. However, I do know some stores, like they sometimes run out of these white dust bags, and so they just give out black dust bags. However, I would personally ask for one just because these are way better to store your bag, and I just think that they're a lot prettier and a lot nicer. So if you buy a classic flap, you should get one of these, so you're definitely allowed to ask for it new from store. Inside it's got Coco Chanel, and it should say Karl Lagerfeld because he's the one who designed the classic flaps. Yeah, and it's just got two separate pieces. Usually I like to put my bag in one side and the chain in the other side, but if you guys want a video about how I store my bags, comment down below, because that would be a whole other video, and I'm very conscious about making this video as short as possible because there's so much that we're covering. The first piece in the packaging that you should get for a classic flap is one of these white dust bags rather than a black dust bag. You should also get a camellia with your box, and you should also get a box. I know that last year there was like this drama in the US where like all the Chanel boutiques like ran out of boxes, which is so crazy to me. It happens. It doesn't really happen here in Australia, but again, like America's population is like 10 times the size of Australia's. But yeah, I saw a lot of people on Instagram last year, if they were buying bags from Chanel in America, they were getting sent their bags without boxes, and I think like that's just crazy to me. Like I've never bought a bag that didn't come with a box. So you should get a box, and part of the box you should get like a camellia, which is the little Chanel flower. I'm gonna see if I have one in here. I don't really know. Well, I haven't like looked in this box for ages. Oh, I think that was some wrapping. Yeah. So you should get something like this. And this is just part of the packaging experience. Like, again, like, it might not bother you. It doesn't really bother me, especially now that I have so many of them. But if you're buying like your first Chanel and you want to like hold on to the packaging, and I totally get that. I used to do that too. Like, you want to get the full experience, and you deserve to get your camellia. So if you see it and they haven't wrapped it with like a little bow and the little flower, then you can just ask them like, hi, I'm so sorry, this is my first Chanel. Like, would you mind please giving me the little camellia? I don't really do anything with these. Like you saw, it literally has just been sitting in the box. But I know some people, like, they use them for like decoration in their room, or like people use them for decoration at Christmas, or they're just like nice to like have. So for me, it's not a deal breaker, but it is technically part of like the full packaging experience. Again, sometimes they run out, so you don't get it, but you can always ask. So these are the little camellias. They change every couple of years, and they do like seasonal Christmas ones, which are always really cute. So that's another thing. If you're buying a bag like around Christmas, usually like December, January, you might not get the traditional white camellia, but you might get one of the seasonal Christmas ones. And in the past, they've done like white and silver glitter ones, they've done black ones, they've done gold ones. And I guess you could always ask like, oh, could I have the seasonal one or like the permanent one, depending on what you want. The next thing that I look at is the Chanel buffing cloth and the Chanel booklet. So this is actually useful, and I recommend that you check that you're getting these. So the first thing you should get is this little booklet that inside has a buffing cloth. So I've also talked about this in previous videos, but what this is that this is for, it's particularly useful for lambskin bags, not so much caviar, but doesn't hurt to use. It's just a simple like dust cloth to help clean your bag and like bring like get rid of any scratches if you have any, or bring back the shine if you're finding it's getting a little bit dull. I have never used this ever in my whole life with any Chanel bag that I have, but I know people who like once a year or like once a month or every 6 months or whatever it is, they get these and they put them on their hands like this, and you just like rub it all over your bag. And this is supposed to help buff out any like superficial scratches, so not any cuts or like tears or rip to the leather, but if you have like just little like scuffs on them, it works particularly well with lambskin bags, where you just have superficial like scars. You get this little buffing cloth and you buff it out, and it's a really nice, soft, easy way to protect your bag, bring back some of the shine, and make sure that your bag has really good longevity and stays in perfect condition for as long as possible. So you should get the little booklet that has that inside of it, and if you don't get one, you can always definitely ask for it, because you're supposed to get one with every classic flap. I don't know if you get one with every bag. I've gotten one with every bag, but like I said, sometimes my sales associate is really nice and she just like throws in everything. Like I've purchased seasonal bags and like non-classic flap bags and gotten like the white dust bag, even though technically you're supposed to get the black dust bag. So I don't know if you're meant to get this with every bag or just the classic flap, but definitely if you're buying a classic flap, you're allowed to ask them for the little booklet that has the buffing cloth. And this is just another little booklet that talks about I think it's just like the terms and conditions of like how to, not terms and conditions, but like care instructions for how to take care of your bag. Anyway, besides the point, so you get this little care instruction booklet that I've never read, never looked at, but if you're looking for the full packaging experience, then yes, that is something you can ask for, and these just come together in a little booklet. And the next thing that you should get is this little booklet, and this is actually a really interesting booklet. So this just talks about the make of the bags. There's nothing like important in here, it's more just like interesting. It's just got inside like it just shows you like how they make the Chanel classic flap, and a little bit of the history behind it and the process of how they put the bag all together and attach the chain and blah 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 blah. And at the front of these at the front of this, you should get a little certificate. I'm just going to cover it up because it's I just don't like people knowing personally like where I shop or like what day I buy my bags and stuff like that, just for privacy reasons. So I'm just going to cover the info, but you should get this little paper thing that you can pull it out of the booklet, and it should say your name, the date that you purchased the bag, and there should be the serial number for the bag and a stamp from the boutique talking about which boutique you bought it from. This certificate, like, I guess is really useful if you plan to resell your bags. I like never buy my bags with the intention of reselling them, so it doesn't really bother me so much. But if you know like, oh, I want to have like I only want to have one Chanel bag in my collection and I want to change it like every year, so I'm going to buy a bag and then I'll sell it and then use that money to buy another bag and blah blah blah, which is like totally within your right to do whatever you want. Then having those certificates is it's a really good way to show people that the bag is authentic. There are bags on the resale market, like I said, people lose like packaging all the time. I am a packaging hoarder, so I just have it all like in a box that just like sits there. But if you are buying a bag on the Preloved or the vintage market and it doesn't have this booklet or it doesn't have the certificate, it doesn't mean it's fake. It probably means that they just lost it, or sometimes it means that the store didn't even give it to them. Because I know a lot of people buy bags from the store and they don't get these two things. Sometimes the store doesn't have them, sometimes they just can't be bothered packaging it. So if you don't ask for it, you might not get it. My sales associate person like always gives me them just because she knows I love having all the little bits and pieces, even though I don't really do anything with them. But there you go. The next thing on my list is felt to put between the bags. So this is another one that I find is actually really useful. So you probably noticed when I pulled my bag out of the dust bag at the start of this video, there was this little felt between the flaps. So this isn't expensive, like you can get this from any fabric store. You can even just go to like your local supermarket and just get not paper towel, but like not a hand towel, but you know what I mean, like it's like the stuff that you use to clean up water, like almost like a sponge. I don't know how to explain it, but you guys know what I'm talking about, right? So you just buy this fabric, or you can go to a cloth shop, like if you go in Australia, if you go to like a Spotlight. I don't know what the equivalent of that is in like America or anywhere else in the world, but this isn't anything special. It's literally just like felt, like it's just fabric. It's nice and soft and pliable, and it's just really soft. The reason they give you this is to protect between your bags, especially when you get a classic flap. Another bag that I think really benefits from this is the wallet on chain. So with the classic flaps, there is this button. So you have this little button at the top of the bag, and sometimes when you close the button, this doesn't happen with my bag, so it's really hard to show you guys, but sometimes I've seen the button like closes like on this part of the bag and it starts to indent the leather, like push it in. The other reason is here at the top of the first flap is a little zip, and this zip here indents usually on the leather, especially when you close it. It's really hard to show you, but when you close it here, it starts to, the pressure of the zip starts to dent the leather. And if you've ever had a Chanel wallet on chain, or you bought one, you've probably noticed that those bags are notorious for having this issue, where they've got this beautiful little zip at the top of it, which I actually love. I had a wallet on chain and I used that zip all the time, especially when I was going out. I would hide like my ID or my passport if I was traveling and stuff, because it's very secure and a lot harder to get to than the main compartment of the bag. So the zip is really useful, but the zipper pushes down, especially on the wallet on chain, on the main compartment of the bag, and it starts to dent the leather. So Chanel should give you these little cloth pieces, and what I like to do is I like to fold it over, I'll see if I can show you. I like to fold it over the top, in between the two flaps like this. So it goes like that. So this bit here prevents the zipper from denting the top of the second flap, and then this bit here prevents the button, which is here, from denting the top of the bag. So yeah, so I usually just like to fold it like that, and that's part of how I store my bags, and then I do that. And then yeah, you can't even see it, it doesn't really matter. It just stops the little tidbits of the bag from damaging the other bits of the bag. It's not essential, and if your sales associate doesn't give it to you, like it's not the end of the world, you can just go to a fabric store and buy one for like $1. But you can always ask them as well. That's everything. Thank you so much for watching this video. I feel like it's a really long video, so I'm going to try and wrap it up really quickly. But that video that I went through is the whole list of everything that I look for when I'm buying a bag, whether it's new from store, whether it's pre-loved on the resale market or the vintage market. And I think these bags are so expensive, we should expect perfection. And I know that perfection like doesn't exist, and especially with bags that I made by hand, like there are small little defects, and I like I said, like there might be things on this list that you think, oh no, if my bag had that, I'd be okay with it, and that's totally fine. This is just my comprehensive list of everything that I look for when I'm doing a quality check for a brand new bag from the store, because they're so expensive, and I just refuse to buy a bag that isn't perfect, especially because it's going to get worse and worse over the years as you wear it. Like as you wear them and you love them, like I'm not expecting my bags to stay perfect forever, and I know that they're eventually going to look a little banged up and a little worn, and that's fine. That's part of loving a bag and having a bag and what gives it that beautiful vintage feel. But when I buy buy a bag brand new from store, I don't want it to already have that used vintage look. Like, I want to be the one to give it that look through my many years of use. I hope that you guys like this video. If you're interested in how I store my bags, like using the felt and the dust bag, and like how I put them in the dust bag, and whether I put them on display or in a like a damp area to protect from like sunlight drying out the leather, all of that stuff, which is a whole other video, comment down below and let me know if you would be interested in that. If not, let me know what else you would be interested in. If not, I have a couple of video ideas already up my sleeve. I'm so sorry it's taken me so long to film another video. I used to try and upload every 2 weeks, but I've realized that just doesn't work for me and my lifestyle and how busy I am. So now I just try and upload as much as I can whenever I have time. But thank you so much. If you made it to the end of this video, you are a legend. I know that it was a long video. I hope that you learned something along the way, and I hope that it was helpful for you. Please watch this before buying your first Chanel. Please share it with someone before they buy their first Chanel. If you have a friend, you have a cousin, a sister, a boyfriend, a co-worker who's buying a first Chanel, make sure they watch this video so that they know exactly what they're buying and what they deserve to get for their money, because I hate seeing people get duped, whether it's from the boutiques or on the pre-loved market. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be back soon with a new video.